There's only one type of Facebook advertising audience that you should be using if you want to guarantee profitable results for your Facebook advertising campaign. I know this because I've spent well over $5 million of my own money on the platform, and this has worked every single time. And if you set this audience up correctly, not only will it have the highest chance of being successful than any other audience that you can use, but it will actually make your campaign and your ads more profitable the more you scale it, which is actually the exact opposite if you use any other type of audience. This audience on Facebook is known as a lookalike audience. And what a Facebook lookalike audience is essentially Facebook finding 1 million to 10 million people that share a lot of the same qualities or attributes as an original or source audience. In layman's terms, it means that you tell Facebook, hey, here's this audience over here that has a lot of the people that I want to go after. I want you to use your algorithm to find 1 million to 10 million additional people that similarly match this original audience. So now your wheel should start turning, because if you think about it, if you have an audience of, let's say, your customers for your product or service, then you can say, hey, Facebook, these are the people that have already paid me $100,000 to $50,000, and I want you to go out and find 1 million people that share these exact same attributes. And this is very, very powerful on the Facebook advertising platform if it's done correctly. Now, before I dive into my screen here and show you exactly how you can set up these lookalike audiences for yourself, I want to let you know that there are two main variables that determine whether your lookalike audience is going to be successful or not. The first variable is what is known as the quality of the source audience. So a source audience on Facebook is what I talked about earlier. Essentially, where are you pulling this lookalike audience from? What is the original source of information? As I'm going to show you in a moment, these could be email lists, lists of people that have booked calls with you, lists of customers, people that have visited your Instagram, people that have visited your Facebook page, people that have watched specific videos. It's almost endless the different possibilities that you can have there. But what I mean by the quality of this source audience is how well does this source audience you're using match up with the ideal avatar or customer that you're looking to attract. For example, a source audience of people that have visited my Instagram page, although it's definitely a decent audience, there's almost no barrier to entry for someone to visit my Instagram page. My mom, my cousin, my aunt, my uncle, all of them visit my Instagram pages, but none of them are actually my ideal avatar. On the other hand, an example of some really quality source data would maybe be a list of people that you had actually show up to a sales call. Why that's quality is because, at least in our sales process and in our client sales process, there's a lot of friction between when somebody is potentially interested in working with you and when they get on a sales call. We have a lot of curation and qualifications in place, so that way when someone makes it to actually show up on a sales call, we know that they are very likely, like 98% chance, that they are our ideal avatar. And so what you're doing when you're using an audience like that instead of Instagram followers or Instagram page visitors is you're telling Facebook, hey, Facebook, here is a list of people that I want you to match. And that list of people, the quality of them happen to be as close to your customers as possible without actually being your customers. Now, many of you watching this video may think, well, Ravi, why don't I just upload a list of my customers and that would be the closest thing as possible to my customers? Well, you're right. You should definitely do that if you have the option. But on a lookalike audiences, in our experience, you only start getting really quality lookalike audiences on Facebook when you have at least 300 to 500 people in that source audience. Now, I'm fortunate enough and inside of our company, Scaling with Systems, to have served well over 1,200 businesses. So we are able to use that audience for our customers as a source data. But many of you, especially if you sell a higher ticket product or service where you're just starting out, it'll be very difficult for you to come up with 300 to 500 customers that you've had previously, because that's very likely a 7 or 8 figure business. And just statistically speaking, there's not a lot of people out there that have that. So you should always look to go further up in the pipeline, further up in the funnel. So instead of starting with customers, maybe you don't have 300 to 500 customers, maybe you have 300 to 500 sales calls, right? If you don't have 300 to 500 sales calls, maybe you have 300 to 500 booked calls. If you don't have 300 to 500 booked calls, maybe you have have 300 to 500 leads. If you don't have 300 to 500 leads, maybe you have 300 to 500 website visitors. So as you can see, I always start what we call closest to the money. So how close are we to that ideal avatar? Remember the quality of the source audience, and I keep on moving backwards until I have a large enough audience where it will be statistically significant. Now, always what I will end up doing and what we do for our clients is we'll upload all of these, create different audiences for every single one of these, and we'll test all of them. And sometimes I found that sales calls taken is a more quality audience than customers, right? And sometimes that may be because our ideal avatar, who is our customer, has drastically changed even over the past 12 months, and we've closed 800 to 900 people even before that. So it's really great to make sure you're always testing, just like any great advertising person is. Make sure you're always testing different audiences against each other, because you may be surprised. But the general idea behind it is the closest to your ideal avatar, the closest to the money, the more quality that source audience is going to be, and thus the more quality the lookalike audience is going to be. And the second variable that you need to be aware of if you're looking to launch successful lookalike audiences is the percentage of similarity. So the first variable was the quality of that source audience, and the second variable is the percentage of similarity on Facebook. So Facebook gives you an option once you say, hey, Facebook, here's a list of 500 of my customers. So we know that's a really quality source audience. Well, then on Facebook, you can tell it whether you want a 0 to 1% similarity, a 1 to 2%, a 2 to 3%, a 3 to 5%, all the way up to 10% similarity. Now, it's a little bit confusing because it's kind of the opposite of what you'd think. Think of it like 1% deviation from the original audience. So the most quality, the most similar lookalike audience you're going to get is that 0 to 1%. And that usually generates around 1 million people on Facebook, depending on the size of the source audience. So if you're looking at, for example, a customer list and you have 500 people, and you go to Facebook and you choose the percentage of similarity and you say 0 to 1%, what you're essentially telling Facebook is find me a group of people that is within a 1% deviation of this original list. Now, I don't think it's actually just 1%, but it just gives you kind of a relative term to look at when you're creating these audiences. On the flip side, if you were scaling and you maybe exhausted your 1% lookalike audience, that entire million people, and your ad frequency was very high, you could start going to 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%, 3 to 4%, all the way up to 10%. But if you're starting to understand the theory behind all of this, you have to be careful, because even if your quality source data is your customers, as close to your ideal avatar as you could get, if you're doing a 10% deviation from it, it could be somebody totally different. So for example, for us to be able to serve a business, they have to be doing at least $8,000 monthly recurring revenue on average for the past 90 days. And if we go to the 10% similarity of this audience, it could be somebody that's doing $1,000 in monthly recurring revenue for the past 90 days, because there's so much deviation in that similarity on that Facebook audience. So just to recap before I dive into my screen here, the two main areas you need to look at is number one, the quality of the original source of information that you're feeding Facebook, and number two, how similar do you want Facebook to deviate from on that original audience. So with that being said, let me just dive into my screen right here and show you very quickly how to set this up yourself. All right, so now let me show you exactly how to set up these lookalike audiences. So I'm inside my Facebook Ads Manager right now. If you don't know how to go here, go to facebook.com/ads manager. And what you want to do is go to the top left-hand side and click on All Tools. And then when you click on All Tools, you're going to click on Audiences, which is that second little icon there. And then as you can see, there is the lookalike audiences, exactly what we were talking about earlier. So we're going to click on create a lookalike audience. And the first thing it asks for is the lookalike audience source, like we talked about previously. So what you're going to want to do, especially if this is the first time you're setting this up, is you want to create a new source for a custom audience. And here's where you have all the different options for that original source. I'm not going to go through all these here, but you can see there's an Instagram account. You can do your website, people that have visited specific pages. You can do your Facebook page, people that have watched specific videos. These are all different options that you can use. I will tell you that 90% of the time for ourselves and for our clients, we just set up customer lists, because those are going to be the most quality of source data. Remember what I was talking about earlier. And so that's going to be our highest chance of success. So I'm going to click on customer list. I'm going to click on next. And you can see here, it says how to prepare your customer list. And the very easiest way to do this is you download a file template from Facebook. So you can just click on this. It'll upload upload a file template. Let me show you what that looks like. This is what the template looks like that they send you. So you can upload multiple emails, multiple phone numbers. Don't worry about this ID right here. First name, last name, zip, city, state, country, date of birth year. You can have the gender, the age, and then the value. I almost always upload without values because I don't find it very valuable on Facebook, and so I almost always just delete those. And then I also don't usually upload an ID, either one of the IDs either. I don't think that that's also useful whenever you're uploading stuff, so let me just delete those two things. Perfect. And then I'll be just really quite frank with you. Typically, the only thing I'm uploading is email, phone number, and first name, last name. Because one of my fears, at least, is that if I upload too much information, like let's say I think that this person, the state that they live in is California, and actually they live in Florida, that Facebook might not count this person and use it in the source audience. So I use just the thing that I almost know will never change person to person, which is their email, their first name, last name, and their phone number. Okay. So let's imagine that we just created this and we want to upload this into Facebook as a source audience. So let's say this is our customer list of people. Let me just export this as a CSV. Let me say customers. Perfect. And then what we'll do is we're going to go back over to the to our Facebook account. We're going to want to click next on the bottom right hand side of this. We're going to say that this does not have any custom values like I said previously. Then we're going to click on upload file. And then I'm going to upload this customers list that I talked about earlier. I'll just call it customers right here. And then I'll click on next. And it's already found everything because I just uploaded the same template that they had previously. And I'll click on import and create. And it just took a few seconds to upload. So now we have our source audience on Facebook. And what we're going to do now is we want to create a lookalike audience. So I'm going to click on create lookalike audience. It's already going to select my the source audience is customers right here. So that's exactly what we want. We want this customers source audience. I'm going to select the region that I want. So for us, we're going to be running ads in the United States. So I'll type that in there. And then this is the second part of what I was talking about. This is what the audience size or the similarity to the source audience that I was talking about before. So you have 0 to 1%, which is 2.8 million people. 0 to 2%, which is 5.5 people. You can do 0 to 1%, 1 to 3%. And the question you may be asking yourself is, Ravi, when would I ever upload, do something like 1 to 4%? Or why would I ever do something like 3 to 4%? Well, if you're doing your ads correctly, like for example, for our company, it's not unusual for us to spend either in our company or portfolio company, $8,000 to $15,000 a day in advertising spend. And when you're spending that amount of money, you very quickly will go through that original audience, that 0 to 1%, which is I always recommend people start out at. And so unless you want to create new creatives all the time, which you should be doing, but is a little exhausting, you can just simply increase this and run it as a new audience underneath the 1 to 2%, and so on and so forth. So we'll just move to 0 to 1% because that's always what I recommend people doing. We're going to click on create lookalike audience, and there you have it. You can see right here, this says lookalike 1% customers. And then when we're running ads on Facebook, I can simply just change the ad targeting to be that lookalike audience there. A few final things just to remember and keep in mind. I almost never recommend running ads directly to a custom audience on Facebook. The way that Facebook kind of works is that they don't mind if you're running lookalike audiences to specific audiences, but they get a little hairy when you are running direct ads to your customers or to your email list, because to them you uploaded it, and so you could upload anybody, and that's when Facebook starts worrying about kind of privacy problems, et cetera, et cetera. So I never recommend running ads directly to your audience. You can exclude them, but don't ever run ads directly to that audience. If you want me to shoot another video where I go into how we're constantly updating the lookalike audiences and how we make them so that they are as accurate as possible, thus making it actually more profitable when we scale, just drop down in a comment down below and let me know that, because I'm not sure if you guys will find value in that or not. Okay, so that's exactly how you run and set up lookalike audiences for the highest chance of Facebook advertising success.